This is a tutorial on how to tint windows like a pro. We will be demonstrating here how to tint flat glass, and we are tinting on a condo in downtown Asheville, North Carolina. This is on a sliding door, and this is what we'll be demonstrating to you. As you can see here that we started spraying the window to get the window nice and moist. Then we take a razor blade and scrape the edges. Now you'll notice that on the edges of most flat glass windows, especially wood trim windows, you'll notice that there's a lot of glue, gunk, leftover stuff when they piece the windows together. So here you want to check the edges, scrape off any gunk that is there, and then also you can see I'm scraping the whole window here. Now the reason why I do that is because sometimes you'll hear little sounds, and what that is you're hearing little pieces of dirt, or when they painted the house, maybe a piece of paint got on the glass. So we're just scraping the middle of the window, and that way if there's anything left on the window prior to installation of the tint, it's not going to show up as dirt in between the film. Now after doing that, you want to spray the window again to get nice and moist, slippery, and you want to take a little scrunch pad. As you can see in my hand, it's just a little tiny little Brillo pad, but it's safe for glass. It's not going to scratch the glass or anything. So you want to take that and scrub on the window, and especially the edges, because you can kind of get that wood or whatever's onto the window now kind of pushed away. So you scrape the whole window and listening for little noises like little pieces of dirt or glue that's stuck on the window. And so that's what I'm doing here is I'm looking for dirt, and also if there is anything that's on the window, any debris, I'm rubbing that away. Now you're going to squeegee the water away, but notice this. I wipe the edge of my squeegee so that way if there's any dirt on it, it's not going to get on the window. So you squeegee your window. Now if you have a smaller squeegee, that's okay. Anything will work. It just will take more time. So squeegee the window and pushing all the water to the side. Now, periodically clean up your squeegee and keep going. Thankfully with this squeegee it only takes me 3 swipes, but with smaller squeegees it can take you 20 or even more. You spray the window again. I like to do this clean 2 times. And that way it really ensures that nothing's left over on the middle of the window, no dirt or anything like that. So the towel's on the floor there, I'm wiping the edge of the squeegee, wiping the blade, and squeegeeing again. Making sure that my squeegee overlaps and I'm not leaving any water left on the window, because that water could potentially be contaminated. So you want to squeegee the water away to the edge of the glass, then take a smaller squeegee and squeegee the corners of the glass. As you can see that I'm doing that here. Going all the way down the glass, I'm making sure that there's no water on the edge of the glass that the big squeegee missed. Continue to do this around all 4 corners of the glass, 4 edges of the glass. And you want to make sure that there is no water left on the glass, because if there is, again, that water could be contaminated. So you want to measure your glass. Actually, you want to do this before you clean the glass, because you could potentially get dirt or dust onto the window. So here my glass is 34 inches by 78 inches. So I'm going to cut a little bit bigger. I got a 36-inch roll here, and I'm going to cut to 80 inches, so straight out of the box. 36 inches by 80 inches. That way I have a few inches of either side. Doing this here is a little dangerous to do by yourself. Now, if you're doing it by yourself, be prepared to mess up a piece of film or two, which could be a little bit expensive. So if you have somebody who can help you, have them help you. So I'm pulling the film out 80 inches, and then I'm cutting the piece out of the box. So now I have a piece that's 36 inches by 80 inches in my hand right now. So I'm going to spray the glass, get it nice and wet. Now you don't want to have any dry spots on the glass right now, otherwise when you place your tint, it might stick. So we don't want that. Now to peel, this is a little tricky by yourself. So again, if you have somebody to help you do this, it would be the best. So now I'm peeling the liner off with my teeth. Here I'm just pinching the tint and getting it started. And once I get that pinched, I pull the liner off. A lot of people forget to do that. So make sure you pull the liner off. And again, this is tricky by yourself. So you pull it halfway off, and then you can step on that liner. That's a little trick that a lot of people don't know. As you can step on that liner, being careful not to touch the sticky part of the tint to anything. Once you get that liner pulled off, and keep pulling on it there. As you can see, I'm stretching the film, making sure I don't touch anything with the sticky part to anything, especially not to itself. Now again, if you have not tinted windows before, do not attempt to do this by yourself because this is very tricky, and if you mess anything up, it's very wasteful and could end up costing you a lot of money. So bring your piece of film to the glass and line it up. Now, I have 2 factory cut edges, so I'm going to line up 1 factory cut edge to the edge of the end of the glass. So that way, that cut is 100% straight, 100% perfect. Now sometimes the edge of the glass isn't perfect, so if that is the case, then you'll just have to cut all 4 edges. But right now, I'm saving a cut, so now I only have to cut 3 edges, which saves me time. So I spray the outside of the film. Doing that will help my squeegee to glide over the film with ease. There are many ways to do this, but I like to start with squeegeeing the very top of the glass. And then I smooth out the glass with my hand, so that way if the tint is tweaked or turned a little bit, it won't get any fingers, of what we tinters call, on the edge of the glass on the bottom. So I make my little T and then I work my window out in sections. So maybe a foot and a half down, and then I go down straight in the middle, as you can see I'm doing, pulling it down straight, and then working my left section, not all the way to the edge, and then I'll work my right section. Now because this side is cut over here, I can go all the way to the edge. There is one thing I will advise you as well, is you need to make sure that you get every square inch of the film. If you were to leave any water behind, say in the middle of the glass, well, after it dries up, it's not going to look very pretty. So make sure your squeegee paths overlap. And that way you don't leave any spots in the middle of the glass that you have to come back later to. And after you try to push those away later on, well, you're going to have some marks behind your film and it's going to be permanent. There are squeegees that cost a little bit more, that make this job a little bit easier, that's made for flat glass, but here I did not have it, so just using a regular 4-inch squeegee is perfectly fine. So as you can see, we cut the edges now. Start in one corner, work to near the middle, and then go to the other corner. I like to cut my top first, as you can see. Now I'm cutting my left side, starting in the top corner, making sure that the blade goes all the way to the corner, otherwise you'll leave a light gap. Although this film is very light, it's actually a 60% film, mostly used for UV rays and a little bit of protection from the sun. You still don't want to have any light gaps. A tip to cutting your edge is just put the razor blade snug against the molding and then slide it nice and straight. That way you have a nice straight cut. So always start in the corner of the glass though. And of course you would always want to have a nice sharp razor blade. Now after cutting my edges, I go back with my squeegee, checking the edges and pushing down any bubbles that I missed. As you can see, remember on my left side I never pushed it all the way to the edge. So just, checking all your corners, all your edges, making sure that the bubbles are away. Now don't be upset if there is a little bit of dirt here and there. It's going to happen to some of us. So just make sure you can have it as clean as possible. It might take you a few tries, but around the edges is where it especially picks up dirt. Now the squeegee I'm using is pretty soft. It's a hard squeegee, but it's pretty soft, so you're not going to get everything down with this when you're doing your edges. So after that, I like to take my hard card and get the edges. So you can see now I've switched from a squeegee to a hard card, and here I'm getting down all the edges. Every squeegee or every press, occasionally you'll see I'm wiping down my hard card. I'm wiping the dirt or the water off the hard card. So that way if there's any dirt that it picked up from the edge of the glass, it's not going to scratch the film, because that is something that can happen very easily. Even though there's a scratch resistant coating on most films, when you do this process you could end up scratching that scratch resistant coating. After you're done with that, I take my rag. I have a terry cloth here, microfiber, Then I'll wipe the window down. Don't do too much pressure, otherwise you can move the bubbles around if there is anything left in the middle of the glass. That's it, you're done. Please don't forget to like and subscribe our videos, and that way we can provide more for you in the future. This is Bryant with Best Reflections Window Tinting, and we'll see you next time with How to Tint Windows Like a Pro.